That's a big tail. Holy moly. It's like a slip and slide.
What's happening? This is Bird from Bird Surf Shed, and today I'm stoked to pick out a board for Devon Howard. Devon Howard, the local boy, him and his brother Brett are just mainstays on the San Diego coastline, San Diego reef areas in particularly. I can't wait for Devon to get on one of the boards that I've picked out for him because he is a style master, and the board he's going to ride is shaped by the style master. So for me, the key to surfing is exploration, to ride different boards. If you're into riding a shorter board or whatever, get on to something different. This is a Gordon & Smith transition board from approximately 68. It might have stretched to 69, but it's a V-bottom. At that time, everybody was making that transition from longboards to shortboard. This board has dropped from a usual 9.6, it's an 8'3". So that was a huge drop in those days. Again, you can see the V on the bottom, running from the tail all the way up till it rolls into the roll. The theory there is to be able to get the board from rail to rail, because if you're going to drop the length of the board, you want to increase volume, so they widen it up. This board's 23.25, which for the time and for the size of the board was very wide. It has the Australian influence, and the best part about the board is the fact that it is shaped by Skip Frye. Skip Frye is a legendary San Diego surfer, shaper, born and raised right up the street. His whole style is based upon a San Diego style, which is generally maybe a little slower, a little smoother. We have some pretty good waves down here and a wide variety of them. So Skip is the essence of soul, if you ask me. It's a little heavy because of the gloss and the polish, but it's gonna probably open his mind in terms of how a wider, fuller board from that time frame is gonna really work. This board is real special to me because, once again, it's from Skip and because Joe did the renovation work on it. But having surfed with Devon since he was a kid, I like his fluid style, and I like the fact that he can ride just about anything. And it might take him a wave or two for him to get the kind of rhythm of the board, but I can't think of anybody better that can ride this type of a board and put it through its paces and let it do what it's designed to do. But if we can get this underneath his feet at, trestles of course, then we'll really see this thing go.
Okay, this was hands down the most difficult board I've ever ridden in my life, no question. I've seen the films, Hot Generation, I've seen the photos of the guys riding transition boards in like that 67 era, right when McTavish and Nat Young, and those guys were surfing Honolulu Bay on Hot Generation. And so when I heard that I was going to get to ride this board, I was like, yes, this is going to be awesome. I've never ridden a transition V-bottom. I was like, I don't know, embarrassed, frustrated, a number of things. Like everything that I know about surfing and surfboards, this board was the exact opposite. The first wave I caught was, a knee-high wave. I just wanted to get a feel for it. And I just wanted to just feel the rail a little. I went straight to my face. And I'm like, okay, was it the bottom? Was it the fin? Because the fin, I feel like the fin washes and spills a lot of energy. So there's this wrestling match going on with this board because that V continues all the way to the front of the board. And so when you're in the water, it feels like the board's tipping over like this really easily, and you can't find your edge. I've been riding a lot of mid-lengths for years, but look at the outline. First of all, the outline is completely different. I don't have this wide tail. This is something I would have on a nose rider. And then with this V-bottom, I'm riding the opposite of this. The bottoms I'm riding either have almost no V to flat, or they have a double barrel concave. The Channel Islands mid that I've been riding the last year or so has concave and it has a flat sort of entry. So the board is up on top of the water and it's really fast. This board, I feel low in the water and I don't feel that there's any stability to the turn. I don't feel that I can count on the turn at all. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe when I get this board into a point situation, it'll bring it to life. Based off the first time ever of riding a transition era board, vee-bottomed, I was able to kind of get it together. In the moments where I felt the board could do something, there was a pocket and a bowl. I think we should take this thing to Malibu. This time of year, we can't go to somewhere like Rincon, but somewhere that has a running wall. I felt something going on there, and I think if I'm in a wave where I don't have to rely on cutting back on a really slopey face, that we could tap into some of the little bit of magic that these boards had just for that brief period of time in history. I'd love to see what Skip thinks about this board. I have a feeling Skip himself would say, yeah, those boards are pretty bad, and that's why we don't ride them anymore.
This is like going to grade school after longboards, you know, because shaping was so much different.
And
This is a good representation. It's a good one from that time period, you know.
And it was changing so quickly.
Well, you know, in '68, anything went.
Yeah, you can look in the magazines and see it.
You know, like the Cliff, everything was, you know, that Cliff was like, they were making edge boards.
Yeah.
I made a spoon.
So when you've had people bring these to you over the years, they get all sort of nostalgic.
I don't even pay attention to them.
What do these boards make you think when you see them?
Just throw it somewhere. It doesn't do anything for me. I wouldn't go on my way to get one in my stash, you know.
He sends them over to me. Go see Bird.
I mean, it doesn't excite me at all, you know.
Got those hips.
None of those
right
old
there.
boards excite me. You know, it's just the new boards are what excite me.
Well, the very first wave I caught on this, I went face first. I mean, it was embarrassing. And then I started, we did it at Trestles, and I went and got a couple more, and it was just very tentative. And then sort of toward the end of the session, I figured out this board just wants to be in the pocket. Anytime it was a mushy, kind of soft shoulder, it just was a disaster.
Well, it's mushy. The whole tail's mushy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, this is mushy. This is mushy. You know, kind of thin.
But there are moments, so when the board is in the pocket, so I thought, you know what, this would work well. We went to Malibu, and it wasn't an amazing Malibu day. You know, it was probably chest high. But what a difference it made, you know, to where you could just start grooving in the pocket. And I could see why those Little made those holes after he saw Nat Young up there with the Kia board or whatever. Was that what it was? And I think, I could be wrong on this, but
That was a big New Zealand swell.
yeah, Little saw Nat Young ripping on this little Kia board, and then that's where they took those hole boards. This is closer to a hole almost even more than a V-bottom because of those guys bellied out those boards.
Yeah.
And that's
This is
why
kind of like a missing link. Can we show you a ride or two just for fun?
Yeah.
Just to get some kicks here.
I've been dying to
You got to get a different pin in it to start.
question is, what do we learn out of the board? And I think what I felt I learned from it is I can see why you guys moved away from these boards. The thing that was worth keeping out of these boards was the V, but in a much subtler, much more relaxed fashion. You know what? I had a lot of fun on this board. It was frustrating. And I know after the first session, I had said, this is probably the worst board I've ever ridden in my life. And I was like, no, I think I'm pretty certain this is the worst board.
Yeah.
And then once we went and got some waves at Malibu and was able to kind of lock into that groove, it felt like an early hull or something.
That's what it looks like the whole time, the trestles are not. But I mean, I look at the McTavish tracker that I have from the same era. You know, that
He said the same thing. Burn these things.
Well, Skip, thanks for letting us.
I gotta get back to work.
Yeah, it was good to see you.
Get back to work, man.
Thank you, Skippy, for taking the time.
Vee-bottomed.